never changed. It was the least volatile race on record. Even after that first debate, you saw a movement of a point or two. Of course, Donald Trump and Joe Biden were basically universally well known. So I want to take a look here. No opinion of the candidate. For Donald Trump, it was 9% in the ABC News Ipsos poll that came out over the weekend. But look at this. For Kamala Harris, nearly a fifth of the electorate had no opinion of her.
You may have seen for the past 72 hours that liberals have been celebrating their new candidate, Kamala Harris, even putting together ridiculously cringe edits like this.
Bumping that, bumping that, bumping that, bumping that, bumping that.
But unfortunately for them, reality is starting to set in because it turns out outside of their weird, creepy little mask-wearing cult, Kamala Harris is not actually that strong of a candidate. She has never been popular with Americans. A lot of people don't like her. And CNN, after hours and days of fawning over how amazing Kamala Harris was, Van Jones did another rant where he was basically crying on camera about the strength of the new candidate. The CNN polling analyst was forced to react to their initial poll of Trump versus Kamala, showing that actually Kamala is not in that strong of a position against Trump. Again, outside of your weird, creepy little cult, she's not that popular with regular Americans. And we're going to react to that today because it is truly a hilarious meltdown and reaction to see. So folks, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And without further ado, check out what CNN had to say about the truth outside of the little brat edits, the truth about the state of the 2024 election.
Let's take a look here just first at the favorable views of Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump has historically been unpopular, but take a look now. After the Republican National Convention, in the ABC News Ipsos poll, he recorded his highest ever favorable rating at 40%. That's not a one-off. Take a look at the Quinnipiac University poll, 46%. That's the highest ever in that pollster. The fact is, Donald Trump is more popular now than he ever has been before. So yes, Democrats can make this switcheroo, but they're still going to have to beat Donald Trump, a Donald Trump who is stronger, Sarah, than he has ever been before.
But guys, don't worry, Democrats. I'm sure that stupid edits of her dancing to Brat is gonna change the whole election, right? Because normal people definitely don't find that cringe and annoying and off-putting and very Hillary Clinton-esque, but worse. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, I'm sure. Just keep believing that. Just keep believing that.
It will be interesting to see how voters respond to all of this. Now, how is he doing relative to Harris, who did run at one point? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look here, right? We've been focusing so much on how Harris was doing better than Biden in the polling, and that's true. If we take a look at the national average, what do we see? We see Donald Trump up by 1. That's a within the margin race, right? That's a close race. But remember, of course, in the national popular vote, Democrats tend to do better there than they've done in the Electoral College, at least when Donald Trump has been running for president. So last time around, when Joe Biden barely won in the Electoral College, he actually won the national popular vote by 4 points. So at this point, Donald Trump is running 5 points better. 5, that's a 5 of some sort. 5 points better than he was 4 years ago against Joe Biden. So at this particular point, whether you look at the favorable ratings, whether you look at the horse race polling, we see that Donald Trump is doing significantly better than he was doing 4 years ago at this point. Kamala Harris is going to have to do better than this, of course, if she wants to win the popular vote, but more than that if she wants to win the Electoral College, where she'll likely have to outperform how she's done nationally, because the fact is, if you got to tie it in the national popular vote, that is probably not good enough if you're Kamala Harris and you want to win the election against Donald Trump.
So I was worried when it was Trump versus Biden about Republican arrogance, right? The overconfidence that we just are so complacent. We think we're going to win. But I think now what you're seeing is Democrat arrogance. Because, oh, she's a brat. Oh, my gosh, she's so amazing. Kamala Harris, the cop versus the felon, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let them keep believing that. They think their candidate is so strong. Let's make the case to the American people. And let's find out that these terminally online Reddit-using leftists do not feel the way that, say, your normal working class person in the state of Michigan does. Just saying.
In terms of what the biggest thing that could create change here, and also we have to be clear, there hasn't been time for a poll since Kamala Harris announced. It just happened.
Yes. So all this polling was taken before Kamala Harris actually became the likely and now presumptive Democratic nominee, given those delegates that have lined up behind her. But keep in mind this: Donald Trump versus Joe Biden never changed. It was the least volatile race on record. Even after that first debate, you saw a movement of a point or two. Of course, Donald Trump and Joe Biden were basically universally well known. So I want to take a look here. No opinion of the candidate. For Donald Trump, it was 9% in the ABC News Ipsos poll that came out over the weekend. But look at this. For Kamala Harris, nearly a fifth of the electorate had no opinion of her. And those opinions, in all honesty, probably weren't that well baked in. They just knew Harris as Biden's VP. There are a lot of folks that are going to be taking a second look at Kamala Harris over the next week, over the next month, all the way up until the election. And the truth is that presents Democrats with a major opportunity, right? Because it could be that their perceptions of Kamala Harris are proven wrong based upon her campaign rhetoric and her campaign actions, but they could be proven wrong either way. She could be much better than they think, or she could be worse than they think. There's still a lot to be determined here. Sarah, we started off this segment saying how crazy the last less than a month has been. Yeah. This is truly unprecedented.
But here's the thing to consider. Let's think back to the 2020 Democrat primary when Kamala Harris, her first announcement rally, drew a very big crowd. People were very excited. I, for a time back then, really thought she was going to take the nomination. And then what happened? She completely collapsed because she's not likable. The longer you put her on camera, the longer you put her in front of the American people, she ultimately collapses. So that's why I also think, though, we should look at that and say, yes, there are a bunch of undecided Americans about Kamala because she just came onto the stage. It's also very important. We work very hard to paint her as the unlikable radical, and that's what she is, a radical to the American people. But assuming that the Trump campaign is successful in messaging, which I surely hope they are, I think we'll be fine on that front, because the current Americans who just know her as Biden's VP have no opinion. The longer, again, she's in front of the camera, the longer she is going to collapse. So just some things to consider here.
Look at the numbers now, but the real thing to look at going down the road is looking at those trend lines, because the fact is this is a race that is truly up for grabs.
But here is some other interesting information that may be the source of a little bit of buyer's remorse coming soon with Kamala Harris, because apparently she is performing worse with young voters than any Democrat in this century. So again, all the TikToks, all the videos of her dancing, oh my gosh, young voters will love this stuff. Well, perception might be a little different from reality there. Check it out.
They said, yeah, you know, all this stuff about Brat Summer and all that jazz. So I want to take a look at Trump versus Democratic margin. Just remind folks where we were at the end of the 2020 campaign. Joe Biden won voters under the age of 35 by 21 points. What do we see with Kamala Harris? Well, she's still ahead, but the margin here is significantly less than what we saw with Joe Biden back in 2020. She's up by just 9 points. You may make the argument that was better than Biden was doing before he got out, but compared to that Democratic baseline, where Democrats have historically in presidential elections, at least this century, been carrying that young vote by 20 or more percentage points, she is way down from that. So if this is unique support among young voters, I would like to know what non-unique support is. Is it even worse than this?
Is she doing better than Biden was, though?
She was doing slightly better. Maybe Biden was up by, like 6 on average or 5. This is maybe slightly better, but this is not game-changing stuff, Mr. Berman.
All right, what have we seen in terms of motivation?
Yeah, so, the other thing is we talk about vote.
But what? I was told that Kamala was so energizing for young voters. What? Yeah, she's doing better than Biden. Anyone could do better than Biden, okay? But this is, again, something to consider. We're going to be told for the next entire election cycle about how strong of a candidate that Kamala Harris is, and she's so amazing. Let's all work hard to make sure that these people get a brutal reality check, because, yeah.
Vote choice, right? But let's also talk about motivation, right? Because it's not just who you would support, it's whether or not you come out to the polls. And this, I think, is rather interesting. Do Democrats say they're more motivated to turn out after Biden left the race? Well, we do see a significant portion of Democrats who say yes, 39%. The thing I was interested in was it disproportionately younger voters who said that they were more likely to turn out or more motivated to turn out. And what we see here is it's 42%. Not a big difference between 42 and 39%. So this idea, again, that the vice president has unique potential to dig in and get young voters to turn out, John, it's just not there in the numbers despite all the internet memes that are going around.
Brutal, just absolutely brutal information for Kamala Harris, because the big hope with her, the thing that Democrats are banking on, is she will do a better job of turning out the Democrat base than Joe Biden. Like, she energizes her own people more than Joe Biden does, because it's also a fact she really is not good news for independent voters, for suburban moderates, right? Arguably, Biden maybe does slightly better with those types of voters, but if it's true, as CNN CNN is reporting here that the core Democrat constituencies, yes, they're a little bit more energized for Kamala, but not big game-changing numbers where they're all gonna show out and swamp the vote like they did in 2020. Again, not necessarily good news, but it gets even worse. This is from Red Eagle Politics. According to the new CNN poll, Kamala Harris only leads Trump 78-15 among black voters. In 2020, it was 89-10 for Joe Biden. Among Hispanic voters, this is basically a tie. Kamala Harris only leads Trump 47-45 among Hispanics. Back in 2020, it was 64-34 in favor of Joe Biden. That is a shift of 16 points to the right among black people and a shift of 28 points to the right among Hispanic voters. So, brutal, devastating news. And this is, again, the reality check that many Democrats, I'm sure, don't want to hear. And hey, you know, let them not hear it, right? Let them learn the lesson in November. But when you get past the memes, when you get past the fake enthusiasm, the astroturfing that the media is doing, this is the electoral reality that it looks like Kamala Harris is going to be facing. And I'm not saying that to get complacent. I'm just saying that so that way, you know, don't lose hope. Don't freak out because Kamala's the candidate. No, just put your head down, keep working, right? And this may all be a reason why, according to the New York Post, again, all the hype around Kamala Harris publicly, Obama does not believe Kamala Harris can beat Trump, which is why he has not endorsed her. Very interesting news, right, to say the least. So with that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Do you think Kamala might actually be a much weaker candidate than the Democrats think? Do you think maybe the polls are wrong? Let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe before you go, and until next time, God bless and peace.